Hi, we're Nolan in the Deep, and today we'll be talking about the themes of isolation and hopelessness that are prevalent throughout Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert. Interstellar is an epic sci-fi that shows our planet Earth on its last legs, finally becoming unable to support and sustain a human population. 10 years prior, in a last-ditch effort to save humanity, NASA sent a team of astronauts through a wormhole in an attempt to discover a planet that's habitable enough to be a viable escape for the human race. They've received signals from 3 planets, and they need to send another team to find out exactly which planet has the potential for being Earth 2.0. The borderline apocalyptic premise and space travel make this one a prime subject for the analysis of the hopelessness of the human condition, as well as absolute isolation and its effects on an individual. Now, let's get to the point. Nothing emphasizes hopelessness like the impending absolute desolation of a planet that has sustained all human life for hundreds of thousands of years. A ferocious dust bowl has been sweeping the earth, a direct catalyst for the death of essentially any kind of crop that isn't corn. The human race's survival is heavily dependent on agriculture, and sweeping shots of gigantic cornfields show that the farmers are down to the last hope. And their last hope, unfortunately, won't last long. The imminent failure of mankind's literal last instrument of survival on Earth, the expiration of the single crop keeping them from mass starvation, is the point in the film that makes the viewer realize that if mankind is to continue, existing, their only hope is colonization of a foreign planet. Think that having to move the entire human population to a planet that is so far away, it's only accessible through a wormhole, is the definition of hopelessness? Well, you're right, because through possibly the biggest twist in the movie, it's revealed to the viewer that the option was never possible. Plan A. The plan to move mankind to a habitable planet was a lie told to Cooper's team so they would go through with the plan in hopes of saving Earth's inhabitants. The only possible course of action they ever had was Plan B, the colonization of the new planet through fertilized eggs aboard the ship that Cooper was commanding. This hopelessness is multiplied when you recall Cooper watching the video sent to him by his children. He accepted the mission in hopes that he could save his kids, and the realization that this hope was based on a lie leaves the viewer with feelings difficult to stomach. Depressed yet? Just wait. A theme that's possibly even more pressing and present in Interstellar is complete isolation, and even more so, the effect it has on an individual. Any movie about space is going to feature some sort of claustrophobic sense of loneliness, but the way Nolan does in Interstellar is beyond comparison. The 2 most obvious isolated subjects would be Dr. Mann and Romilly. We can start with Romilly. Upon reaching one of the potentially habitable planets, Romilly stays behind while astronauts Cooper, Brand, and Doyle explore the planet's surface in order to determine its habitability. Time is of the essence, however, because every hour they spend on the surface is equal to 7 years back on the spaceship. Things go south quickly on the surface, and the astronauts are forced to evacuate as quickly as possible in order to return to the spaceship. Cooper and Brand return without Doyle, and when they get back on the ship, they're not prepared for the Romilly they were met by. The years of isolation are obvious not only due to the graying of his hair, but the way he speaks and looks at Cooper and Brand. It's clear the time he spent alone has taken quite a toll on him, and he seems almost an empty shell of the person he was only a few hours ago. He speaks quietly, having given up hope long ago, and looks at them like he's not really sure if they're there or not. The effects of isolation seem like psychological and emotional torture, capable of breaking even the most brilliant minds. Mann had spent much more time alone, and it's clear he had given up just as Romilly had. Mann was lauded as a hero beyond comparison when he left Earth, and watching him completely lose himself after simply seeing another human face emphasizes even more the havoc that complete isolation can wreak on a person's spirit. In fact, the loneliness had turned the leader of the bravest humans to ever live into a coward and had pushed him to lie about the potential of his planet on the off chance that someone may be able to save him. And not only does he lie about the viability of his planet, he attempts to kill Cooper and maroon Brand and Romilly just so he can escape them, realizing he had failed. Whether he simply wanted to return home or attempt to complete the mission remains unclear. What remains painfully obvious is that the crippling remoteness of Mann's hopeless situation left him completely destroyed. A man who was considered the bravest explorer to ever walk the earth, defeated by something as simple as loneliness. Mann's selfishness, arrogance, and mental instability led him on a destructive course, with a destructive ending to match.